Hello and welcome to another episode of Practical Color Grading. Layers are used in many programs. We're even used to working with a version of them in the Final Cut Pro timeline. But how are layers used in color correction? Is there an optimal way to order layers? What are the differences between color correction and color grading? And how can layers be used to create and compare different looks? In this episode, we'll explore these topics and more. If you have questions after watching this video, write to us in the comments. Consider subscribing to our channel and turning on notifications to not miss any future episodes. So anyway, why should we use layers in color correction? Well, beside the obvious case of using different tools for more flexible color work, we can assign various roles to layers and layer groups. In Color Finale 2, you can create as many layers as you need, and then rename, group, mask layers and even layer groups, as well as temporarily disable, fine-tune them, mix, and so much more. If you use Final Cut Pro for your video projects and don't have Color Finale 2 for color grading, you can try the Pro version of the plugin right now with a free 7-day trial. Follow the link in the corner or check out the description. The basic idea of layers is likely already familiar. Have a look. If we take one layer and fill it with a color, and then create another layer on top of that, and fill it with a different color, then only this color at the top is visible in the viewer. If we begin to reduce its opacity, the color of the layer underneath starts to mix in with the result. In Final Cut Pro, layers are applied in the reverse order, top down. Note, when working with tools such as color wheels, we often work over shadows, midtones and highlights separately. If in the bottom layer we change only the shadows and the top layer is kept for highlights, then these changes don't fully overlap and so both of them are reflected in the final result. The position of some tools such as HSL curves in the layer stack is important. HSL curves can be used to select specific colors in the image. A color picker is often used to take the initial sample. Let's say, in this shot, we want to change the background color. Using HSL curves, we first sample the original color and then change it. Afterwards, maybe we want to use this tool again but as a new layer. We create a new HSL curves layer and again sample the color we want to work with. The color sampled is green since that's the result of the previous color adjustment. But if for some reason you change the layer order and then edit the colors, these specific changes won't work on the background. The layer is now below, meaning it looks for green in the original image. But instead there's clearly blue, so to change the original color again, you would need to resample the original image and make the adjustment. And this is the same with other tools. For example, let's change the image color with RGB curves and make a selection using HSL curves. We are at this point selecting green, the result from the RGB curves. But again, if we swap the layers around, then the original color of the image is sampled. For convenience, the color picker in HSL curves always shows the actual color about to be sampled. If the layer is lower down, the original image is sampled instead of the other changes. Hopefully now you know a bit more about how the order of layers and their relation to one another influences the color correction process and the final color corrected result. But what is the optimal order of layers and color correction in general? Let's get into that right now. For detailed work in complicated projects, using layers is very convenient. When there starts to be a lot of layers, a lot of tools used, it's fairly easy to get lost trying to remember what role each tool, each layer plays in the edit. It's a good idea to structure your edits to get the best results. Here's an example. Converting a footage into a video color space, setting color balance, setting brightness, and creating a look or color grade. Let's explore each step. Step 1. To begin with, if necessary, we need to convert the untouched footage we have at first into a video color space. For example, log into Rec 709. Only after doing this should we go into color correction. There are tools that can be added at the very beginning, before conversion. For example, log wheels. Log wheels is uniquely suited for working with original footage. But a conversion step is still required afterwards to achieve the final result. So it's a great idea to work with both tools in tandem and place them in the order shown. Otherwise, it's not worth putting any other tools underneath the conversion layer, since they only work correctly on video that's already been converted into some video color space. The next step, step 2, is color correction. This is about finding the appropriate color balance in the image. It's at this point important to get the right white balance and, if necessary, the balance of other colors. We can naively add a layer and label it color balance, so that it's easier to understand the purpose of the layer within the wider context of the project. But a better option could be to create a named layer group, since you might want to use or end up using several layers for color balancing. Now any masking, opacity or blend mode changes can be applied over the entire group. And now, as the third step, we adjust the brightness of the image. We do this after balancing the color, since that could have affected the brightness. So it's nice to get the balance right first and lock in the brightness after, without having to go back a step. At this point, we're done with the color correction and can move on to step 4 in our workflow, grading. All the adjustments up until now are necessary to get a correct image, a base over which we can create a style or a look. Sometimes we don't need to do any grading if the client only wants color corrected video. With grading, we add a look over the image that involves a more artistic application of color tools, effects, LUTs and presets. And so grading is our next and final step, and this is how it's different to color correction. In fact, the entire process of setting the color balance and brightness is often possible in a few clicks with just one tool, color wheels. To find out more about working with this classic tool, we have a video that you can check out. Follow the link on the screen or in the description. So, grading. Let's create a brand new group of layers and start adjusting the tones, colors, and add some effects in order to achieve the look we want. This is an artistic process. If we don't like one of the layers, we can always fine-tune it, or disable it for the time being. Create and compare variants, or perhaps mix the effects of the layers together by changing opacities or by masking them. All these actions being available is a big advantage of using a proper layered workflow. In the exact same way as with the other tools, you can add and mix ready-made looks in the form of LUTs. If we add 2 LUTs to one image, then the immediate result is probably not very pleasant. But by controlling the mix of these LUTs with the opacity slider and layer blend modes, we can end up with a unique look by dialing them in. And this is only a small portion of the possibilities given by layers in Color Finale 2. Combining different tools allows you to create truly unique visuals and to structure your color workflow for projects of any size in a powerful and convenient way. Try what you see in this video for yourself with a free 7-day trial of Color Finale 2 Pro, link in the description. Consider subscribing to our channel for more tutorials like this. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.